And I would like to take a moment here to introduce Piyush, architect Piyush, to you guys. So Piyush is a very celebrated young architect who has been working in the field of computational design and urban computational urban design, both in India and Dubai. He graduated from GCA Lucknow, and his thesis was awarded as the best architectural project by COA. And then he went on to Bartlett School of Architecture to pursue his master's in machine learning and the role of AI in architecture. And he has won several awards. His researches has won several awards across the world. And he's also an advisory member of IJMAR. So that's International Journal of Multidisciplinary Research. And many of his works are displayed in museums across the world. So we are thrilled to have you, Piyush, and over to you. Thank you for taking some time out.
Likewise, I think that was quite a great introduction, I must say. I mean, thank you. I hope with the presentation I keep up the expectations that you have ignited within the students. So, do you want me to start with the presentation?
Sure, sure.
So I would have to share my screen. Yeah. So I guess okay. Some of you might have already been aware of this presentation. I guess there are few enrollments from Faculty of Architecture GC as well. So this might be a revision for them. But for the other students, apart from that, I think it's going to be pretty interesting insight on architecture of intelligence, and I'm going to be talking about the role of AI and machine learning in architecture. So, if I may start, Chinmay, all good?
All good, man.
Perfect. So, okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing okay and are well at their respective ends. I thank Chinmay for such an amazing introduction. Well, you guys are aware that I graduated from Government College of Architecture, also known as Faculty of Architecture from Lucknow, and I pursued my master's in machine learning urbanism from Bartlett School of Architecture. So, and today, having said that, I'm really looking forward to let's say the guest lecture that we have at the moment, and I would like to thank ICWIM for this opportunity, and I hope this lecture would help in bringing some fresh and new perspective towards design and architecture, and even the works that you guys are doing at the moment. So, I'll be briefly talking about the architecture of intelligence, identifying the importance of basically the role of AI and machine learning in architecture. So before we dig in deep into artificial intelligence, I would like to highlight on the timeline of AI architecture with respect to design innovation, design theories, and architectural innovation. So in the year 1930, the era of modularity came into picture, where we saw a few amazing concepts in design. I mean, one of the first arguments of smart architecture was stated by Walter Gropius, where he spoke about using computers in architectural design. And soon after that, we came across the modular system of anthropometry by Le Corbusier in the year 1945. And an interesting inference is that by unifying both the ideas and concepts, Moshe Stabde, he designed Habitat 67 in Montreal, Canada. The housing complex is one of the most admired buildings of modularity phase, and it is still praised by many. But the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence, which was a 1956 summer workshop, which it is widely considered to be the founding event of artificial intelligence as a field. The project lasted for approximately 6 to 8 weeks and was essentially a brainstorming session. 1960 onwards, the era of computational design emerged, where we saw invention of sophisticated computer programs such as AutoCAD and CATIA by Frank Gehry, also known as Gehry Technologies. And Christopher Alexander spoke about the pattern language in architecture. MIT came up with the very first chatterbox in the year 1966 as well. Well, to be honest, I don't want to bore you guys with dates and list of theories, but here's an interesting catch. The era of parametricism began in the year 1990s, where we witnessed some of the amazing projects like Vitra Fire Station. Sorry, just a minute. I'll just grab a sip of water. Yeah, so I was saying that we came up with amazing projects like Vitra Fire Station by late Zaha Hadid and the invention of Grasshopper as a designing tool in the year 2007. But now we have already passed the era of parametrics. We are currently in the period of artificial intelligence. Well, we did have a couple of major developments, but nothing much has been explored in this space. And one of the major breakthroughs in architecture of intelligence is the application of neural network in design. Basically, neural network is a series of algorithms that aims to draw relationship from complex data sets to process by mimicking the functioning of human brain. Thus, it is also called as an artificial brain. And the generative design philosophies in neural network came in the year 2014. Well, the neural network is quite a strong subject in itself, so detailing it out would be probably a matter of a separate lecture. So, for now, let's get into the state of mind that neural networks is basically the part or subset of artificial intelligence. So, to simplify it, neural network is a pattern recognition algorithm which you use to unlock the smartphone's by ID or in object detection. So, without deviating from the main theme, I would like to pull in the first slide away and I'll break it down into a couple of important keywords. And let's get to the point where we can address the elephant in the room. That is AI, machine learning, and architecture. So architects are not sure what to think about artificial intelligence. Okay? You are probably very familiar with how an AI will change industries like cybersecurity, medicine, manufacturing. But what about architecture? This brings us to three important questions: what, why, and where of architecture of intelligence. So basically, AI is intelligence displayed by machines and software. Today, AI is all around us. If you own a smartphone, tablet, PC, or even a car, it is likely that it runs on some form of an AI. Siri, Cortana, Google Maps, or be it any other third-party software. The ever-growing connection of people via technologies enabling more open and transparent look into every person's life. Now let's understand why is it important in architecture. Uh, I'll just hold on here for a second. Chinmay,
Yeah, Piyush.
is my voice clear? Are there any disturbances? I see there's some construction noise going
I-
next to me.
if you have
Is it?
maybe a earphone, that would be great. There is a slight echo, but if not, I think we can. It's quite understandable. So I think we can move
Yeah,
forward with
it's
that.
not much of it's not creating much of a trouble for you guys, right? Okay, so I'll continue. So now let's understand why is important architecture. So by knowing what we like, what we post online, what we buy and where we go, our smartphone, tablets and computers through complex algorithms know us empathically better than we do ourselves. The data is constantly being uploaded onto a cloud. So the information gained can be analyzed by an AI to automatically generate plans. This plan can then be improved later on by architects and planners, the result of which would be a completely finished design. So to give you an easier example, let's look at the Tesla cars. They all have AI pilots in the car, and with every journey, the car uploads the data onto a cloud server. The data is mainly about road condition, road openings, and commute time. Something which is very similar to Google Maps. So that the next car that comes on the street has now the updated information on the routes, or probably what routes to choose. And the way we architects can benefit from it is by analyzing this very data set. You can come up with a very simple solution of a roadblock or even a heavy traffic, where just by increasing the road width by 1 meter to solve an auto problem rather than building or proposing a whole new flyover. Well, their application is quite vast as well. By already knowing everything about us, like our hobbies, likes, dislikes, social activities, friends, and our yearly income, the AI software can calculate population growth. It can prioritize projects. It can categorize streets according to the usage and so on. And thus it can predict a virtual future and automatically draft urban plans that best represents and suits everyone. So basically, AI is helping you to design future design environments. Well, it all looks fancy, but how do we do it, right? How do we get into the right mindset of using such principles and ideas in architecture and design? What are the ways we can truly understand computer cognition? And by cognition, I mean intelligence. There are a few questions you might think upon, and as I said initially as well, the aim of this lecture is to get you guys explore the unexplored potential of this field. Having said that, let's jump to the interesting part, which is the process. Now, let's assume that we have an architectural or a design problem. In the initial steps or stages, we would include the learning from theories and building up the understanding of the design problem. Let's say we have to design a housing complex. We would then start by analyzing and reaching out to different type of housing or let's say typologies of houses.
Okay. As I was saying, let's assume that we have an architectural or a design problem. In the initial step, we would include the learning from various theories and building up the understanding of the design problem. Let's say we have to design a housing complex. So you would start by analyzing and reaching out to the different typologies of housing, definition of housing, and then you would gather up the collaborative understanding of it. In the next step, we would start drawing inferences from site at micro and macro levels, that is, at the site and the city level. Here, we would bring up the understanding of the road network, connectivity to the housing complex, potential entry and exit points, and its impact on the society. Upon gathering all the necessary information about design problem, the next crucial step is to create an algorithm that can understand all parameters you would state. In simple terms, we would state the list of arguments which would derive the design, and let's call them design parameters. Now here is the interesting bit. Based on your list of design parameters, there are infinite number of design possibilities on how we can orient the building, where we should propose doors and windows, or what should be an ideal internal or external circulation. And doing it all by human mind, it would probably take months to determine the design outcomes. So what computer intelligence would do is it would take all the listed design parameters, understand them, and then it will compute to give you one from the million different possibilities. So now instead of brainstorming over million of design possibilities, which could usually take up a huge amount of time, we would now have computationally driven solutions. Let's assume 5 to 6 solutions, which would satisfy all the listed parameters. And as a designer, your role is to choose the right one tailored to your aesthetics. This process is called as form finding, where you are determining the form of the building by computationally driven methods. Now you may think if computer is doing the job, what is the role of designers, right? If you have to record the number of possibilities of different design iterations, here is a screen recording of a very basic AI model where the form is broken down to various modules to find the best design solution for an housing complex. My question is, how much time would you take to derive the right answer? In this case, it took just 56 minutes. So AI would not take up our jobs. Rather, it is going to act as a catalyst in finding the right solution for the design. Well, honestly, computer is a dumb machine. What it is good at is its computing skills, which we humans lack. It is important as a designer and architect to identify the right balance between the two. And AI would just give us the form. It is in the role of designers to sculpt the emotion out of it. At max, it's going to give you just 5 to 6 design options, or let's say the possibilities, but it is in the hands of architect to shape the final vision out of it. So let's say here's the example of the selected from the previous simulations. And the same form can be tailored to various or let's say numerous design languages, be it the housing complex done by Moses Shavde or even the community housing by Briark Angels. The final product would always reflect and is always backed up by a strong research done by computer intelligence. Now, here is another example of a computationally driven floor plan, where the aim is to increase the productivity of the office layout. It is done by enhancing the spatial and visual connectivity by manipulating the internal wall partitions and the furniture layout. The AI over here calculates the desired number of meeting rooms, the area required per seat, and even the total capacity for that floor plate. Now let's have a look at another form finding example. The mixed use project aims in developing the form via computational measures. The final form would look something like this, and I'll highlight the reasoning behind it, keeping a note of the excess roots, and the site also has direct connection to the water feature. In the very first process of optimization, the goal of an AI algorithm is to identify the right location of the building form so that all towers can have maximum views. In the second stage of optimization, the AI calculates right orientation of the buildings to improve the visual connectivity. Thirdly, the form is then studied for the sun movement and solar radiation. The parameters over here is to reduce the solar gain and increase the daylight factor. The factor of mutual shading is also considered over here. And lastly, the build forms are then analyzed and tested for wind intake. The atriums and the openings are strategically placed and oriented to make most of the wind movement. The same exercise is then done for all the other towers as well. And upon optimizing all the parameters stated before, the final build form would look like this. The computationally driven form is thus the right amalgamation of human and computer intelligence. Having said that, I would like to show you an example of a real-time design solution that has been executed on site. So the project I'm going to show you now is known as Alsif Dubai. It is a mixed-use stretch of about 1.8 kilometers, having residences, retail, and commercial spaces. And the design is inspired from traditional souk buildings of this region, having wind towers and niche courtyard spaces. Since the site is located next to the waterfront, one of the main criteria while designing the stretch was to enhance the public movement and visual connectivity, to appreciate the spaces and the waterfront promenade. So upon having the general master plan, it was important for us to monitor the building heights so as to build the character without being risk to the views. We then created a machine learning algorithm to find the right balance of the both to achieve the best building skyline. Here's the video highlighting numerous design possibilities. After generating the right massing model, I would like to show you the final result, which is which looks something very similar to this. And here are some professional shots of the building, the promenade and the quality of building form, or let's say build form, the traditional architecture style. Each house or building within the project has story of its own. Some buildings are designed to look as if they were built in 1960s with darker walls, less lighting, and simple decorative elements, while others have lighter walls with much more intricate details. Moving forward, I would briefly talk about my research project, which I carried out at Bartlett School of Architecture. The name of the project is Neural Network Public Places, also known as N square P square. So the research aims at redefining the experience and design of public spaces in the age of artificial intelligence. The soul of the research project is based on big data. Now, big data is considered as one of the biggest byproduct of 21st century. Almost everything we do produces data, from swiping credit cards to emailing, liking photos on Facebook, and requesting directions from Google Maps. Big data today is acting as a bread and butter of an AI algorithm and computational thinking. The term is even dominating in the field of design just because it reveals human patterns. When data sets are read and analyzed in bulk, it reveals inner human sociology. For example, the data sets gathered from Google Street Maps would reveal how humans interact with spaces, the connectivity, and the routes chosen. These data would help in designing better urban spaces. GPS system and location-based services give access to an important amount of data that is currently being used mainly for the traffic analysis, but which, if properly processed, could open up to infinite possibilities of planning. Now, the research project even took a broader perspective of the city to analyze at macro level upon overlaying important urban fabric such as building heights, residential and commercial zones, green spaces, density of the city and the city buildings, and most importantly, the choice map. So the choice map reveals the deeper finding of the city. Choice map again is one type of an AI algorithm to calculate the possibility of you selecting a specific route. For example, it is known that the roads are interconnected to each other. Some act as primary roads and others are secondary and tertiary road network. Given a chance that you can go anywhere without any direction, Choice Map would highlight the important road connections where no matter which direction you take, you would end up taking those important road network. So after establishing the importance of road network, the next best thing is to measure the quality of an environment. The quality of environment can easily be judged or let's say mapped by what you like to see and what you avoid seeing. We can now even map how much area can be seen from a specific point. This again will infer a lot about spaces and characteristics of the public spaces, promenades, or even gullies. So, mapping it on a city level, the research explores the visual preferences to measure and the quality of spaces. On your right, you may see the graph representing the visual areas for the selected routes. On your left are the four different animations for which is also called as a view rows diagrams, where you see some agent or let's say a humanoid agent is moving within the cities, and the moving hatch is basically showing how much area the person can see from that particular point. Now that we have already determined the importance of road network, the next important step is to map the human movement. So let's say if you have to go from point A to point B, there are 100 different ways you can choose your route, and all of them will have different characteristics. So which one is the best? The research aims to build comparison between human navigation and navigation through an AI model. It is inferred that there are a lot of unforeseen factors that determine human movement. You might find a chart wall on your way and you probably take a detour to your destination. So here is a prototype of the model where an AI agent basically navigates by learning, finding the mistake and resolving it to find the best possible route to reach the destination. The final result leads to the shortest route to the destination with best visual environments. Here is the comparison between the two navigation model, human navigation and navigation by AI agent. So I then calculated the urban fabric with respect to the human movement. So the easier way to do it is to divide the city into smaller cells or grids. I then calculated the number of people stepping in that particular grid. How much time duration do they spend on one grid and what is the dominant direction of their movement? The overall comparison of these three data sets can be seen here. The major inference being what usually seems obvious is never the obvious. Some of the secondary and tertiary road network of the city, which are probably not very important routes, are actually one of the best to commute. And upon interacting within the city by movement, social media is also an essential parameter nowadays to quantify the space. For example, there are places in the city where you would prefer going to and clicking pictures, be it your favorite chart corner restaurant, or even if you are keen on going to or exploring a national monument. The reason we interact with these spots is because these places have unique spatial and urban characteristics. Now, there are tools of design where we can map the social media impressions and it would tell us the exact location where the pictures were taken. So, if we collect over 10,000 pictures and map their geolocation, the city will start revealing interesting characteristics, which I believe cannot be perceived by human brain. So in the video, you may see the red nodes. These are the points from where the pictures are taken and uploaded on social media with their specific hashtags. So now it is even possible to monitor the emotion behind these pictures by reading and analyzing the keywords. The density of these nodes highlights the favorable areas of the city. Architecturally speaking, if you want to build a shopping mall or even a small tea stall or any consumer based model, let's say, now as a designer, we are capable enough to identify the right location for better businesses and interactions within the city and the city inhabitants. So here is an overlook of the computational brain I created to understand the city fabric based on the parameters we discussed. The aim of the brain is to identify patterns within these for these parameters to establish a design language. The parameters are being computed here. The parameters that are being computed here are basically human movement, social media impressions, and building volumes. In the video over here, the research highlights a particular area of the city which needs to be redesigned. In the initial process, the human movement is identified followed by their visual preferences. The artificial brain then suggests the desired form tailored to the site. The research celebrates the distributed and dynamic qualities of the big data, which is utilized to generate the spatial layouts that are able to take advantage and respond to the different local and global inputs, environmental concerns, and desires of the residents. Over here is the cross section of the site with the built form suggested by the artificial brain. The form here has manipulated buildings catering to the human needs and their preferences. Another visual highlighting the AI visionary space. It suggests that the build form here is the right prototype with flawless human movement and it is socially well connected. So in order to test the artificial brain I created, it was important to test the algorithms on the other parts of the world as well. Up until now, the data collection and the city fabric and the tests were specifically done for London. So to monitor the authenticity of the AI algorithm, I tested the same on Paris, specifically on the island of Notre Dame. But I thought after the Notre Dame fire, it would be nice to pay some architectural tribute. So the build form you see over here is not to be confused with the final design output. Consider them as a general massing prototype, and it is in hands of designer to cultivate the aesthetics out of it. I was fortunate enough that my research project was selected and presented at Pompidou Center in Paris early this year, along with other elite projects from Amazon, Morpheus by Zaha Hadid, and Rafiq Anadol's Melting Memories. In the last section, I would like to end with a small simulation I carried out for an architectural college which I would like to call it as artificial intelligence for faculty of architecture. Having said that, I would like to demonstrate the role and participation of AI in one of the buildings of FOA. My aim in this exercise is to establish and illustrate the spatial connectivity within this building. So if I have to run you through the layout, on your extreme left, you may identify spaces such as principal office, committee room. Right in the middle, you have computer lab, lecture room, and library. And to your extreme right, you have thesis studios and lecture rooms. So upon running the simulation of spatial connectivity, you may see the corridor is acting as a spine of the building. The area marked red and orange are the spaces with the maximum spatial and visual connection. And the areas color coded with blue and dark blue are in isolation. That is, these spaces are not very well connected. You may also notice the pocket of deep red nodes. These are the intersection zones with the highest spatial connectivity, as they are either intersected by a door opening or another perpendicular corridor. You would also notice the difference in these two zones, the lecture room and the computer lab. Clearly, the AI model suggests that the computer lab falls under the blue zone and is not spatially well connected, even though the rooms are of almost similar sizes or dimensions. So, analyzing the plan now, you may identify the difference being the door opening. What if we propose an opening on the other side of the lab as well? Would it affect the spatial and visual connectivity? So let's try that. And upon running the AI simulation again with additional door this time, in the new spatial connectivity, both rooms are given equal importance. They are spatially more connected, and you would end up interacting with both spaces. And if you were allowed to move in this space freely and aimlessly, in the above diagram of human movement, it suggests that you would end up going to the library. The spatial composition of the building determines no matter what, the highest footfall is in the library, followed by the long corridor, the lecture hall, and the thesis studios. So thank you all today for this session on role of AI in architecture. If you guys found this session interesting, and if you are keen on learning more about the workings of an AI algorithm, please feel free to get in touch via various platforms. Along with Chinmay, we are organizing a bootcamp called AI Urbanized, which is going to be 3 weeks from now, which is an intermediate level environmental and form analysis workshop. So the aim of the workshop is to simulate and quantify forms based on human comfort, environmental factors, connectivity, and many more. Which is why by the end of the workshop, you'll be able to create and develop forms and analysis similar to these right from the scratch. So if you guys are genuinely interested, you guys can reach out to Chinmay or me or check AI Urbanized on equimdesigns.com. I hope this you guys had an interesting session. I look forward to hearing from you all. And if you have any questions, I would love to address the same.